Okay, folks, welcome back to the next video in this RPG series. In the last video, I got motion matching set up and got my character running around. It's not quite the way I want it, but for now, pretty good. I can run around, turn all the animations, like it smoothly transitions. The only thing it's doing that's a little weird is right there. You can see when I stop, it's slow to transition to the stop animation. I don't understand what's going on, and right there it's not switching at all. I think what's probably happening is my speed is not exactly 0. It's very, very bizarre the way that's working. Anyway, I'll probably have to play with that in a little bit, but for now I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to see if I can set up jump and crouch, because really what the goal here is to see just how easy C++ can be. And in the last couple videos we got this player character set up with the character trajectory. It's got a spring arm and a camera component, and it's got a mapping context, input mapping context, and I've got actions for move and look. And then we've got functions here that trigger when the move and look actions fire. So as I mentioned in the video where I set this up, I called this triggered because I've got it firing on the triggered event that the input system fires. Jump and crouch, I don't want them to be on the triggered event, because the triggered event fires, if you hold the key down, it continuously fires over and over again, which is not what I want. I want to have I want to press C for crouch, and I only want it to toggle once. If I hold the key down, if I put it on the triggered event, even though I'm not holding the key down, it can sometimes fire multiple times just because you don't get your finger off the key quick enough. I don't want that to happen. I just want it to fire once every time I hit the key. So I'm going to use the started event instead. I believe it's the started event. Let me check here. Good grief. Yep, started. Okay. So, what I'm going to do for jump and crouch is we're going to have void. I'm going to create new methods. Create 2 new methods here that'll execute when those methods fire. So void jump started, because I'm using the started event. And then void crouch started. And I'm going to generate methods for both of these. Good grief, maybe I should have just typed it. If you don't have the, writer, and you don't have the ability to generate code like that, you can come type it out. No big deal. So now the other thing I need actions, right? Just like I have the move and look action here, I need jump and crouch. So I'm just going to copy and paste. Call this jump action and paste it again and call it crouch action. we go. So now I've got actions for both of those. I don't need to initialize them to anything. I am going to actually let's look at the C++ file before we compile. I'm trying to be smarter about compiling as few times as possible because it takes so long. So when the jump action fires, we want to call this jump. And this is just the method that's on the character class, so it's available to us. And we'll do this crouch down here. It's also, again, a method that's available to us, because we inherited from the character class. So we're not using this f input action value at all. It's just a Boolean. We're just going to use a digital action, so we don't really need to check anything there. So I'm going to try live coding here, and live coding is something that's kind of nice. See, I already have the editor running, and it's kind of annoying to have to shut down and restart the editor every time. And theoretically, you don't have to do that. You can Control-Alt F11, and that will fire up live coding, and it should compile and then sort of re-patch that code into the already running editor so that you don't have to restart it. It has issues, and normally when I make this many changes at once, I won't do it, but I wanted to give it a shot this time just to show it. Normally when I change the header file like this and I add functions, that seems to be when it has the most problems. So usually I only use it if I'm changing code inside of a existing method, but we'll see if it works this time. And I'll go ahead and actually, that may be good enough right there. May not have to pause. Yep, there we go, successfully linked. So theoretically now, if I come in and open my character blueprint, I should be able to see my new actions under Badger character input, and there they are, jump and crouch. So I need to fill those in. So I need to come back to my input here and make some new actions. I'm going to make input action. We will call this IA underscore Badger underscore character underscore jump. Take a look at this real quick, save it, verify the type is digital, which is what we want, and then we will duplicate it and call the new one crouch. Open that one, save it. Okay, now got jump and crouch, and let me update my context. So I need to add mappings for those. I'm going to do, I hate the way it expands everything when you do that. That's just awful. For jump, we're going to use the keyboard. Whoops. See, this is why I wish it wouldn't do that. I accidentally clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. So we're going to do space bar is going to jump, and then we'll add mapping for crouch, and crouch is going to be the C key. Let's save that. Okay, now my animation I did not include, I think, in my chooser table. I did not include the jump and crouch last time, so I'll add those now. So we got in air and crouch. So I think this may be, I think we want this to be any speed, and we want is in air true. We want crouch. We want to have true here. Maybe false there. Let's see. Oh, I did not hook up my inputs. I always forget this. If we go back and look right here, I need to bind the actions to my functions that I created. Jump action. Whoa. Sometimes the AI is just enhance input component. There we go. Not sure what that was all about. I'll just copy this, paste it again, except this time it'll be crouch action, and it will fire off crouch started. Whoops. There we go. Now those are hooked up. Let me hit Control Alt F11 again, and I'll pause the recording while I wait. Okay, I think it finished there. Let me check. Yep, okay. So let me start now. That's not quite. So we got some issues here. Does crouch work? Crouch doesn't seem to do anything. Okay, let's exit out of here. You'd think having the 0 and 1 there would keep it from getting stuck on the run animation. Those all feel correct. Do I have my variables populating correctly in my enum instance? Let's check that. So I'm going to use a breakpoint here to see what the situation is. So I'm going to click the C button. I should be crouching, but I'm not. Let's see, now that I've done that, set a breakpoint right there. There we go. And let's hit F8. And his crouching is false. Interesting. Okay. Look down here in the watch character. His crouching is false. Why is that? Let's take a look back at player character. Let's set a breakpoint right there on crouch started and see what happens. When I click the C button, C, it fires. I step into the crouch method. No. Okay. Stop this. So jump is working. Let me see. Some reason, it's almost like he crouches when he jumps there. Look at that. It's really weird. Okay. Let me do a little bit of investigation here. There is one thing I need to do, which is, I don't know if it's going to help me, but if I'm crouched, if I'm not crouched, I want to crouch, else I want to uncrouch. That's probably not going to fix my problem, but it is something I noticed that I needed to do. I'll go ahead and compile that. Okay. Compiles finished. I think I'm going to make another test map that doesn't have all this open world crap on it. There we go. Make this my new test map. Oh, my world settings, since I changed the map, need to be updated. Still does not crouch. Maybe that method doesn't update the Boolean. God, it still runs so slow. Did not used to do this. It's only since I installed Unreal 5.5 that I think there's an animation in the jump that doesn't make sense. I still don't understand why it's getting stuck. It should be playing the idle animation now, but it's not. Let me check something. Let's set a breakpoint in my anim instance right here. Why is it stepping in like that? I don't want it to. My ground speed is 0. So it should be playing the idle animation, because the idle animation is from 0 to 1. But it's not for some reason. Anyway. That's another problem for another time. I'm curious about why the crouch is not working. I'm wondering. One would think that that would get set in the crouch method, but I'm not going to take anything for granted. I'll go ahead and specify that and recompile. And let me take a look again at my anim instance. It's grabbing the character movement components, crouching. You know what? I wonder if I call the crouch directly on the movement component, if that would make a difference. Let's see what I have right now. Even with the open world gone, it's still slow as hell. I don't understand. Okay, that made no difference whatsoever. See if that makes any difference at all. Compile that. Okay. Crouch still does nothing. Interesting. Something I don't understand about how that's working, I guess. Looks fairly straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead and stop. I'm gonna kill this editor. And go ahead and restart the debugger just to make sure that it wasn't a problem with live coding. Okay. See what happens when I run now. Still nothing when I hit the C key. That is really bizarre. I don't know what's up with that jump animation either. Let me take a look at that. Those all look correct. It doesn't look like I have a bad animation in here anywhere. Let's take a look at crouch. Don't see anything bad in there either. And here, I'm grabbing is crouching off get character movement component. Actually, okay. Yeah, can't. Why is that false? Let's do this. Let's make my own variable. And I know I said I never create public variables, but I'm going to do it just for a minute here, just to test this theory out. Now I got my own variable that I'm setting, and in my anim instance, let's see what that does. That doesn't make it work. I don't know what to do. Okay, now that I've got that launched again. Crouch still not working. Ah, there we go. Ha. I think what I need to do then is there we go. That'll fix everything up. I'm a little bit unsure if everything's truly working because this crouch method should be setting the is crouching. It's not, so that makes me wonder if it's also correctly lowering the height of the capsule component, because if it doesn't, then the crouch won't actually work because the engine will still think I'm 5 feet tall or whatever, and it'll block me from crouching under things. I don't know what just happened with Ryder, but I'll go ahead and relaunch everything and check it again. So I took a little break there, and I realized when I was on my break why the crouch was not working as I expected. And I'm pretty sure And it's because if we look in this player character blueprint and we take a look in the full editor at the character movement component, I think we're going to find a setting I don't see it right offhand. Let me search for it. Can crouch. Right there. That is my problem. I am almost certain. So I'm so certain actually, I'm going to come back to my player character, remove this hack I put in. Remove that hack and then come into my player anim instance and there we go. And I'm going to Control Alt F11 that. And wait for that to compile, and I'll bet that's going to fix all that weirdness. While that's compiling, I'm going to come into my chooser table. I'm going to set this to 0. I think, let's save that. And now I'll just wait for this compile to finish. Okay, so the compiling is done. So if I'm right, crouch should now work perfectly. Give my computer a minute to catch up here. Wow. Come on. There we go. Now if I hit C. Oh, interesting. So no crouch actually shows up until I start moving. Like I can see that the camera is going up and down, but the animation doesn't change until I move. What does jump look like? Ugh. The transition is ugly. I don't know if that's my computer or if it's something wrong with the code. I have a hunch it might be my computer. But the crouch thing is definitely a problem. You know what? Let me come into my animation blueprint. No. There we go. That is much better. Oh, now the transitions all work. Wow. Okay, that one setting. So that's important right there in your animation blueprint. When you're setting the database to search, interrupt on database change is a very important setting. I basically fixed all of my remaining issues. So the remaining issue that I'm going to have is, right now, when I move my mouse left or right, it moves my character left or right, turns him. And that is not going to fly because I'm going to want to have a mouse pointer on the screen that I can move around and click on things on the screen. So I'm not going to be able to do that sort of movement. So I need to think about what that's going to look like. I don't think I want to do this. Right now I've got this strafing movement when you move side to side. And I'm thinking maybe that's not the way I want to go. Maybe I want the character to turn. But I certainly don't want the movement to happen on the mouse movement. That isn't going to work at all. So I'm going to have to take that look action out. What I do maybe want that to happen is maybe when you right click. So I can maybe just change the action in the context to be like a chorded action so that you have to click the mouse button. I have to think about that a little bit. At any rate, the jump when you're moving is still a little weird, but whatever. That mostly works pretty well. I'm really happy with that, and that is 1,000 times easier than creating all these state machines in the animation blueprint. That's just so much easier. So what I really need to do, you know what, maybe before I kill this video, a couple of housekeeping things that I can do. So in C++ or in blueprints, you can create, I believe you can create an enum. Yeah, you can create an enumeration. It's really just a list of things. We take a look, right? I can add, you know, a bunch of them, and it's just a list, arbitrary list. So in this case, we might say character class would be the enum description, and we might have warrior, right? And then cleric, and so on and so forth. And we would use those as a property in our character, right? We could come in and we could add a property, a variable down here, right? We can add a variable of type. I don't even know what that thing was called because I just new user defined enum. New user defined enum, right? We can create a variable, and if I compile, I'll be able to set a default. You can see a default to warrior, right? And so we just have a list of everything that's there. And this is a really nice way when we have a variable that can only be a certain set of things, like character race, character class, those types of things. So that is what that looks like in Blueprint, to do something like that. But I am not going to use Blueprint. So I'm going to get rid of this. And instead, I'm going to create these enums in C++. And so we're going to come in here. And I like to create my enums in a folder. I like to keep all my enums in one place, all my enumerations. Good grief, writer's going to take a minute here. I'm going to go ahead and pause until, okay, actually it looks like it just finished. 1 second. Okay. Good grief. Alright, I'm going to do add directory. Call this enums. And I'm going to create 2. And the way I'm going to do this, let's see. I'm just going to create a new file. And I'm going to call this Badger character classes. Actually, let's do races. Badger character races. Okay. Oh, whoops. That should have had a .h on it. .h. So we're creating a header file. An enum is not going to have a CPP file because there's no code. It's just definition. So we only need a header file. That's why I didn't use the new Unreal class template, because it doesn't make sense. I don't need a C++ file. Alright, we'll give that a second. I don't know what the heck writer's doing. Seems like a renum should have taken a second, but whatever. Okay, it finished up right after I paused. Alright, so we are gonna put a pragma once directive in. That just tells the compiler, don't compile this class more than once, because it's gonna probably be included more than once. But we don't want it compiled more than once. And we're gonna call this a enum blueprint type. So this is gonna register this enum with the blueprint system, just like our other classes. We're going to call this Badger character races. uint8 is what we're going to inherit from. Whoops. Put our brackets. And that is what that looks like. So now I can just do, let's say, human. And just like that, let's say barbarian. Boom. Elf. Right, half elf. Just like that. And we're going to compile that and run the debugger. And we'll be able to see, actually, you know what, let's stop that. So because we marked this as blueprint type, this thing can be used just like the one that we created in blueprints. It works exactly the same way. I can go in and create a variable of this type right on the character blueprint, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I need to decide what the character stats are going to look like here, and I think you know what, I haven't decided what I want those to look like yet. Just for now, I'll just put what did I call that? Badger character races. Oh, look, it's right there in my IntelliSense. Add a forward declaration for it. Boom. There we go. So now I've got a property of that type, and we will do that, save it, and now let me run. Oh, I probably need to include this file. Well, we'll see if it errors. It probably will. If it does, I'll add a header file. Yep, it already did. Oh, I need a semicolon on that. And in my C++ file, I'll include that header. There we go. Alright, now let me kick that off. We'll wait for that to finish. Okay, so now that my editor's launched, let me show you in our player character now, under Badger, character race, it's defaulted to human because I think that's the first thing I put in the list. Yep. And we can set that to anything we want. And really I should have put a space or a dash between these two in the U meta. Well, let me do that real quick. I'm not gonna bother with recompiling, but right here in the display name tag, I'll put a dash in. It'll fix the next time I compile. So anyway, I just wanted to show how easy enums are in C++. They're no different than enums in blueprints or enumerations in blueprints. The only thing that's really, that's weird about it, and it's one of those things you just have to know, is that when you create an enum in C++ for Unreal, it needs to inherit from uint 8. I don't think you can use any other types with Unreal Engine. I think I've actually tried some other types before and it failed horribly. So I wanted to show how easy those enums are. Now, as far as the player character goes, now I've got this character race on here, right? And I'll probably add a character class on as well. But then I need to put all of the basic stats of the player. And this would be things like level, strength, agility, stamina, basic RPG stats like that. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is creating a struct to hold those. And I'll show that next time. That's, maybe something to look up in C++ is what is a struct. Basically, it's like a class, except it has no methods. It's just a data structure, basically, right? So you can imagine struct test. Whoops. Struct test. Right? And you can have, say, float, or we'll do int level, int strength. Right? A simple data structure just to hold a collection of properties in. And I'm thinking that's probably what I'll do here. I'll probably create something like I always prefix something like that. You can imagine is probably what I'll do. I haven't fully thought that through yet, but I think that is probably what will happen. So I'll put that together next time, and I'll start thinking about items, because really, it's really the first step. Before I can get into any kind of combat or creating enemies or really anything like that, I need the ability for my character and for monsters potentially in the game to hold a weapon. And before they can hold a weapon, I need to create an item class to allow you to pick up a weapon, etc. So I think that the inventory and the item system is really sort of the first main thing to overcome. I'm sort of I'm coming in and putting in this stuff, the race, the class, the stats. I'll do that as well, but that's not necessarily important right now. Before I can really get to anything else, I have to have some way for my character to pick up items and to have those items come into their inventory, and then the ability to equip an item. So all of those things have to happen really before anything else, as far as I'm concerned. So that'll be step number one, I guess, now that the animation is basically working. So that's what I'll get started on next time. So until then, take care. Thank you.